What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Streamline Podcast. In this episode, which is episode 32, we are going to be talking about the Underworld television series. Now, it hasn't been done yet. It ain't out, even though they've been working on it, trying to develop it and stuff. I want to go ahead and talk about my ideas for the Underworld television series. Now, I love making videos about how they can convert potential video games, books, movies, anime into television series. And this one is going to be a very special one because this series is near and dear to my heart. Yes, some of the movies can be shitty at times, but I really enjoy them. I like the story, I like the characters, and I like the overall tone. Having said that, for those of you who don't know what Underworld is an action horror film series featuring vampires and werewolves, created by Len Wiseman, Kevin Grevioux, and Danny McBride, which I believe it was based off a comic they made, or this ended up turning into a comic, but it's based on the premise of those three men. And basically the story follows this vampire named Selene, who's caught up in this war between vampires and lycans. Lycans are an evolutionary strand of werewolves who have the ability to change their form at will. So basically, the whole series is about her. Each movie explores more or less the past and the future of the wars and her role in the overall scheme of things. Now, they had Blood Wars come out 2 years ago. And the series has generally had pretty negative reviews, good amount of negative reviews, but it does have a good following behind it. And the next logical step is either cut the series off, do a final movie, or go ahead, because the last movie was kind of open-ended, or go ahead and just kind of convert it to a television series. I'm interested to see how a television series would go. But my thing will be, is the series a reboot of the film series, or is it a continuation? Now, these are my ideas for if there was going to be a reboot. The reason why I think they should reboot the television series is because the movie, all the movies have a problem with character development, characterization, and like subplots and like side stories involving the actual characters. Hence why most of the villains are, even though they're badass, because I do rate my villains as either badass or a lot of personality. Most of them are badass. They just lack personality and proper characterization, especially since they all follow a trend. Every movie is always a vampire bad guy and a lycan bad guy. Basically, that's basically the gist of it, except for one movie. But one thing that they could do, and this is my personal opinion, if they're going to make a series, I would do it in terms of this. I would take the first 3 movies and I would combine them into maybe a 20-episode series, season 1. Maybe not even 20, maybe 15 episodes. This would allow for a lot of the unanswered questions to be fleshed out more. A lot of the other characters to be fleshed out more. In the first movie, we do see Selene, who's, with this upper echelon of vampire society, but we don't quite know how the vampires' culture is, what they like to do, how they actually view the war. Do they communicate with other clans and stuff like that? Movies never really established those, especially the characters. There are no really memorable characters outside of Selene, Michael, Roz, the one guy that betrayed the vampires, and Lucius, who's supposed to be the leader of the vampires, I believe. And Victor. But it's like, there is a whole bunch of other characters that are surrounding these characters, and it'd be nice to see who these characters are. Why should we care about them? Give us actual story. Why are they involved in this war? What are their allegiance to? Is it to this particular elder? Is it to this particular ideal? So we need better characters, better character development, and better character side stories and backstories, which is one of the problems with the movies. Most of the good guy, most of the bad guys are all one dimensional. They're either in just a because werewolves are just fighting lycans are just fighting vampires. Their whole reason is just because of that. Just because lycans are fighting vampires, they're not like nobody's saying, okay, look, we need to stop. We need to stop doing this. We need to stop fighting. You know what I'm saying? There's no one saying, why are we constantly fighting the vampires? Let's work with them. You know, how about we leave them alone? You know, it's always just big war. There's no factions that are like, look, I'm tired. I didn't want to fight in the war, and we decided to opt out of the war. You know, I would love for there to be like these different factions, different ideas. Just because you're a vampire doesn't mean you can't work with a lycan. And in the movie, it seems like if you're a lycan, you hate vampires. If you're a vampire, you hate lycans. There's no in between. The closest thing that you do get to this is the relationship between Selene and Michael. Selene's a vampire in the beginning, and Michael's a human who ends up becoming a werewolf, who ends up becoming a hybrid. So that's about the closest you get next to what happens in Blood Wars, which is Marius, who's this Lycan leader, and this vampire chick that he's involved with. Now, whether he's just using her for a power play or he actually genuinely likes her, it's kind of, you can't really tell, because even the romance isn't fleshed out enough for you to actually tell if he's using her or not. They're using each other or something like that. But those are about the two closest that you get. And also, where are like the human characters? About next to Michael's character in the first movie, Sebastian from the Underworld Awakening, you know, he was like really cool character. They didn't really do nothing with him. But this series would be a great, absolute great opportunity to flesh out the characters. Not only Selene's character and some of these major characters, but some of the side characters too. You have a blonde that was in the first movie, the one that jumped on the ceiling. But you don't know what her name is. You don't know what her relationship to Selene really is. Yes, she talks to Selene, and they talk about that douchebag guy, but they actually don't say, okay, you're my best friend, or nothing like that. So, yeah, we do need better characters, better character development, better character backstories and side stories. More focus on Selene and Michael's relationship. I do like their relationship in the movies, and I think that they do have that, like they're curious about one another, and through the events of the movies, they end up liking each other. But the movies never actually fully flesh it out. You know, the closest movie that actually fleshes it out would be Underworld Evolution. That's when you actually see like the romance blossoming between the two characters and how they actually feel about one another. So I think that would be a great opportunity to actually flesh out the relationship. If we're combining the first three movies, which I think the first three movies do tell a solid story, you can actually tell the story of the first two movies as a main story, while at the same time utilizing like the Once Upon a Time thing, where you kind of jump into the past and allows you to see what was going on in the past too. So I think that how they'll parallel each other will be really good. And this also gives you some insight into Sonya and Lucius' relationship in the past as well, which, even though the movie did show a lot of, I think it would be a better opportunity, especially given what's going on, how Victor's a dick and he's oppressing the lycans and the werewolves, and this actually show more of the stress that they had to deal with, the day-to-day things they had to deal with, and also allow us to see again a bit more what's going on in the vampire hierarchy. Now, in Blood Wars, that was one thing I was happy to see, you know, a bit of the vampire hierarchy, the council, how they make these decisions to do this, and this. So I think the series would be a great opportunity to flesh out these relationships, as well as give us a bit more insight into the vampire hierarchy, as well as what's going on with the lycans. That's another problem that the movies have. You don't know what's going on with the freaking lycans. Yes, Lucius shows you a bit of his plans in the first movie, but by that time, like, after all that's been established, like, really none of the bad guys actually have anything important to do, you know? And let me take back that a little bit. You do see a bit more of that in Awakening. You do see a bit more of that in Blood Wars. But I want to see, like, these people, yes, they're alpha males, but I want to see somebody challenge the alpha male. I want to see somebody give their input, you know? I just want to see more when it comes to the hierarchy on both sides. I want to see a bit more events that's going on behind the war. Actual fighting, actual espionage, actual spying and reconnaissance and stuff like that. I want to see like these major moves between each other. Maybe the Lycans end up finding out where this clan of vampires is, and they go over there, wipe them out, and see how that affects the other vampires. Maybe have these vampires go out, wipe out these werewolves. You know what I'm saying? Have this big battle, and then how that affects the werewolves. I want to actually see an actual war, and especially during the modern day setting. That leaves as like in the first movie they had the Lycan shifting and everything, but they had actual gunfights, and gunfights are numerous now in television, you know. So it would be nice to actually see some gunplay, some actual fights, some shifting. So I'll actually see some actual events that are going on in actual war. Excuse me. I like to see a bit more of what's going on into the inside of Victor's character. Yes, I liked. Yes, in Underworld, the first movie, you get to see his character, but you don't know what's really going inside his head. Then you see a bit more of that fleshed out in Rise of the Lycans, and I like that. And I want to see how give us a bit more to Victor's character. I mean, yes, the man's a dick. You know what I'm saying? He's a dick in all the freaking movies. I want to see a bit more to his character. When that travesty befell his daughter Sonya, which he ended up doing, you could tell the man was crying. He was hurt. He had to put his foot down for the law. And plus, he was a power-hungry douchebag. So I want to see a bit more with his character, as well as the other elders. I think the one character that just completely shitted on the Underworld movies was the elder Amelia. I wanted to see her character. Yes, they end up doing a full circle and bringing her back into the fold and making her a pretty important character later on, but she herself doesn't really do anything, and I felt that was a really big disservice to her character. Again, I want to see actual fights. I want to see how, yes, you get to see where pretty much the werewolves hand to hand can take out a vampire with no problem. I want to see actual fights between these. I want to see actual fights, whether it's gun battles, whether it's with knives or something like that. I want to actually see a werewolf Lycan. It's hard to say Lycan when not werewolf or whatever, because they're the same basic thing, but I want to see actual fights. And even if they do like the vampire on vampire fights or Lycan on Lycan fights, I want to see that, you know. I mean, the best vampire on vampire fight I can think of that I like till this day was the whole Edward Cullen versus that one big guy from the Volturi, where you see his super strength and super speed, you know. So that was like badass. So I want to see some actual fights. Again, like I said, the story would be best if they combine the first three movies. They can tell the story of the first two movies as the main storyline, while at the same time giving us exposition of what happened in the past as a side story. So I'm good with that. Marcus and William, I want to see more of them growing up, more of what they had to deal with their immortality, how they got bit and transformed, dealing with William's affliction and how it was affecting the countryside and stuff like that. So I would not mind. I'm sorry, guys. Or if we can do it this way, we can make the first movie a series by itself, focusing on what was going on in this war between the actual being in the ground with the war between the Lycans and the vampires, until it all culminates until Selene learning at the end of the season that everything isn't what it seems. Then the second season pick up with the second movie as well as the third movie, and then go back and forth with them, because they are following that story of Selene and Michael had to deal with Marcus, who's trying to free William, who has his, the werewolf affliction, and then kind of play that back, because the second movie is generally about Selene learning about her past. And you can use that to kind of play off with Rise of the Lycans, which is at the same time, what happened in the past with those same things. So it would be nice to actually see that. I'm I think that'll be a pretty good thing. And then say like the third season or whatever, have it to where Selene is having to deal with humans trying to wipe out vampires and lycans, which consequently are being manipulated by lycans to wipe them out. So, and then combine that with the Blood Wars. So that was an interesting dynamics. I think every movie actually has the potential to be a season of its own with perhaps, maybe 13 episodes to a movie, or maybe 10 episodes per movie. But it does give a nice bit of time to give exposition to the story as well as the characters. So that's one of the those are like the biggest things that I would like to see about that. And it looks like my streaming is buffering a little bit, but I'm going to continue to keep talking. Also, I did want to do a casting call for Selene, as well as Victor, as well as Michael. As far as Selene goes, as television casting and probably movie casting too, I would say Emma Watson, because she is a fantastic actress, and I do want her to branch out to other mediums. I've only seen her do a couple of dramas. She was in Beauty and the Beast. Thought she did a great job. Of course, she was beast as hell in Harry Potter series. So I would like to see Emma Watson. I think she can kind of pull that tough girl look, because she looks really good. She can be sexy when she wants to be. So it'd be nice to see that. Daisy Ridley, I've only seen her in Star Wars, and I think she can be. She's a great actress, and I like the tough girl act that she can do. So I think that will work really well with the Selene character. So I wouldn't mind seeing her play Selene either. Keira Knightley, fantastic actress. She done won some awards, and I would like to see her play a sexy role. I've only really seen her play Elizabeth Swann in Pirates of the Caribbean, and I actually like the character, and I thought when she needed to be tough, she did a great job of being tough, and I like to see that. She can be fun, she can be emotional, but I like the fact that she can be tough, and not to mention she's a gorgeous woman as well. Emilia Clarke, love her in Game of Thrones. Definitely would like to see her play Selene. She definitely has the tough girl down. She definitely had just a gorgeous looking woman. So wouldn't mind seeing her either. Natalie Dormer, who played Miss Landria, not Miss Landria, the Tyrell chick. I really liked her too. Marjorie Terrell. I think she would make a good Selene too. She's a great actress. She has that seriousness to her. She looks sexy, and I like the modest sexy to us too. Because when I've seen, she isn't like the try to show off sexy. So I would like to see her play that character as well, and I think she'll do great justice to the character. Karen Gillan. For those who don't know, she plays Gamora's sister in Guardians of the Galaxy. She's been in the new Jumanji movie. She was a companion of the Doctor Who, the 11th Doctor. So I think she is great. Yes, she's Scottish, but I think that she can do the whole English or I think she can pull off the English accent as well. Hell, Scottish English. If she can tweak the Scottish to English, then yes. I think she will work as well too. And of course, my girl Emily Blunt. I like Emily Blunt. She's a little bit older, but she definitely oozes the sexiness, the seriousness. She's great. The best movie, hands down, and I'm not, because she's a fantastic actress, hands down, fantastic actress. But what really solidified my support for her to be Selene, of course, Edge of Tomorrow. She was completely badass. She was completely raw, and she was sexy as hell while she was doing it. Who would I cast for Michael? The list isn't as big, but I still think it's pretty impressive. I would say Tom Hiddleston. I wouldn't have said it because of his performance as Loki, but when I watched that one movie, Kong Skull Island, I thought he did a really good job, and it's nice to see him step out of that Loki role. So I think, and from what I've heard, the man's a fantastic actor, so I wouldn't mind seeing him. James McAvoy, I think James McAvoy is a really good actor too. I liked him in Wanted, and I think his I think his portrayal in Wanted is kind of how like Michael's portrayal is in Underworld, where he's like he just this nobody, and all of a sudden he's just somebody. So he's played that role, so I would not mind seeing him in that role again. And I like Henry Cavill. People might not like him as Superman. I like the man. He's the best Superman, hands down to me. He's the only Superman who's actually had that. I like Christopher Reeve. I like Brandon Routh. Don't care what nobody say. But I like Henry Cavill because the man's a good actor, and he has that learning. He gave Superman that portrayal of learning and trying to accept himself into the world, unlike the other ones. So I wouldn't mind seeing Henry Cavill as Michael, and I did see him in Immortals, and even though I didn't like the movie, I still liked his performance. So there is that. Now I'm going to go on to Victor. Victor, badass. Definitely got to have somebody that has that commanding presence to him, because Bill Nighy did a great job. One person I said I didn't want to bring into it, I'm going to bring into it because I like him. Benedict Cumberbatch. He is one of those guys who can play a really good guy or a really good bad guy. Would not mind him being Victor. He seems like he'd be a badass vampire character. So he needs to get his shot at that. I have Sean Bean. Sean Bean has been proven to play good characters and bad characters. Would not mind Sean Bean in it. And he has he's an older man, so I think that would actually help too. Tim Roth. I like Tim Roth. He plays a lot of good bad guys. So and I think the man actually has a lot of has the acting chops to be such a prominent figure as Victor. So I don't mind him being Victor himself. And of course, I don't know why in the hell I thought to put him on this list. I would like to see Russell Crowe. Now, Russell Crowe is a fantastic actor, easily an A-lister, A1 across the board. But I think the one role, I mean, he's been a tough guy, and he's an older man now. But I think the two roles that got me saying, yes, he could be a good Victor is, of course, Maximus in Gladiator, because he was badass. He was younger, but also he played Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde in The Mummy. And I loved him as Mr. Hyde. He was completely badass. So I want to see Russell Crowe take more of these like bad guy roles, and I think he would do a Victor justice. And plus, he has that certain charisma, and I want to see how that would play with the other vampire characters, or the other characters overall, actually. But that is my thoughts on the whole Underworld TV series. Len Wiseman, get on it. You have the fan base, and I know you got a lot of pushback from the studios and production and all that, but try to do what you can, man, because this is a great series and I would like to see it grow. So guys, in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts on the Underworld television series. Did you agree with any of my points? Did you not like my points? Also, be sure to throw in some of your ideas down there too. You might address in another video. But anyways, we'll definitely catch you guys later. Remember, hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what's going on the Narik Chase channel, as well as be sure to tune in Tuesdays and Thursdays, because we do upload videos. So I'm sorry I'm listening to these idiots outside. But anyways, catch you guys later. Narik Chase out.